Welcome back, YouTube community. Welcome back, music industry. It's me, it's the GOC, coming to you live to tape 25 feet below the surface of the earth. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me ponder this. I'm live and I'm taping it at the same time. Hence live to tape. Fuck it, you guys get the idea. Welcome back to another episodic YouTube adventure here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel for Chaos Corner, as we do a book review and delve into the legendary Toad's Place. Unbelievable read, unbelievable history. I'm glad you guys and gals are here as we do stories from New Haven's famed music venue. This book was written and released in 2021. I have a personal connection because I worked there in the early and middle 80s and also again for a second stint in the 90s. Your authors are Brian Phelps, the owner, and Randall Beach, the columnist here from the greater New England tri-state Northeast area, and the Shadows of Titan Towers. It really is incredible. Shout out to my moderators, Austin Nance and the OTS Tribal Queen. This is Part 2 of Chapter 3. Billy Joel, U2, and much more. Go back and check out the last episode, which was Part 1. Check out the previous here on the opening monologue, all to do with something different here on this channel, which is usually the IWC, the pro wrestling community. But rock and wrestling, they're all connected, and those are my two passions and loves. Along with being a personal security person, everywhere from behind the walls to concerts to venues to stars in the music industry. And that's why this is relatable. Sit back and relax, grab a beverage. Watch the previous episodes. We're going to do this throughout the holiday season, past Christmas and into the new year. Drop an elbow on that like button. Share, subscribe, leave a comment, get us into the algorithm. Let's hop right into the legendary Toad's Place, Part 2 of Chapter 3. Really one of the best chapters in the entire 16 chapters here in this book. I just picked this up the other day from Barnes & Noble. We are reading this together for the very first time, as most of my book reviews and story time shows here on Chaos Corner. You guys know that. We do this together. So bear with me with my linguistic skills as I rumble, stumble, fumble, and mumble. One man, unique, unedited, unscripted, raw dog for you, the fans. A stress reliever. A temporary distraction. Stay in faith. Because if he's for us, no one else can be against us. There's a lot going on in this day and age with a lot to come that we need to be prepared for and use our own discernment. So if I can help you do that and get a little stress relief away, that's what I'm here for. And for as well as for me. So again, I certainly appreciate it. Let me fix the change. You know that represents my life. And of course, my three loves: pro wrestling, baseball, and the music industry. Here we go, fans. Part 2 of Chapter 3, the legendary Toad's Place. While we never did have the Doors, the band members, Jim Morrison died in a bathtub in Paris in 1971, from what was believed to be a drug overdose in Paris in 1971. Just want to confirm it. We did get Robbie Krieger, who had been the Doors' lead guitarist in 1982. He had a positive attitude about being a keeper of the Doors' flame, and he was a good sport when it came to the constant, inevitable questions about Morrison, along with the demands to play old Doors music rather than his own newer material. After the sound check that day, Krieger sat down with Beach for an interview. Krieger was enjoying some slices from New Haven's famed Sally's Pizza. Sally's on Beats. We know the Sally's owner, so musicians who come to Toad's got those pies rather than far from the rival Pepe's Pizza, Sally's, Modern, all in New Haven, and of course Sally's and Pepe's on the famed Worcester Street here, which was declared the United States best pizza in the country. Some people from New York or Jersey or Philly or Chicago may argue that, but you're wrong. It's the facts. Come on down and try it. But Krieger also noted during that interview that and explained that he couldn't be happier about the ongoing and revived interest in the Doors. It's amazing that that stuff holds up today the way it used to, said Krieger. Most of the hits, nobody really knows that I wrote most of the hits. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know that I would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I couldn't say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. No? Too much? Too soon? Too early? Too late? Also, Touch Me, Love Her Madly, Love Me Two Times. Now, I'm not going to give you my karaoke of all those songs, but incredible, The Doors. And To Be at Toads. Just think about the history as I've been presenting this to you on these last several episodes and moving forward of what this music venue was all about. And that I was fortunate enough to be a small part of. Krieger also had to address the Doors' weird and notorious history in New Haven. As I noted earlier, in December of 1967 at the New Haven Arena, Morrison had a run-in with some New Haven cops that ended up with him being busted and his show cut way short. Krieger entertained our crowd between songs by telling the story of what happened on that crazy December night. Jim was backstage necking, making out with a girl, in a shower when a policeman mistook him for some hippie. He tried to kick him out and Jim wouldn't stand for that. He ended up with mace in his eyes. We went on stage in the middle of a song, I'm a backdoor man. Jim told the story of what had happened. The cops didn't like that, so they busted him on stage. It was written up in Life magazine. Krieger then launched into Backdoor Man, and the crowd really got into it. That was another cool and forgettable moment at the Toads stage. The crowd had been a bit antsy at first because Krieger wasn't doing Doors songs. But people went nuts when Krieger and his band played Love Me Two Times, I've Gone Away, and in the encore, Roadhouse Blues. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. All night long. That's the best I could do, man. It didn't matter that he didn't have a great voice. This was the closest the people there would ever get to being at a Doors concert. We also booked Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons that year. We caught a break with them because in September 1982, there weren't many venues in which they could play. Connecticut's Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun casinos didn't open up until the 90s, but we could accommodate them. Valli still had a fantastic voice and could hit every note. He and his band had a deep connection with an older audience, and so the place was packed. There was just one bad moment. Somebody called out for Sherry Baby, and Valli replied, I'm going to do that later. And if you open your mouth again, I'm not going to do it. You heard that interruption, right? You know I got heat with that bitch, right? That AI mechanical bitch. Be careful. Make sure you unplug it. Me and the wife were upstairs last night in the lounge, checking out whatever it was on the TV, and I forgot to unplug that bitch, and we could hear it from upstairs, talking down here. Talk about weird. Big Brother's watching. It's only going to get worse. We're on that slippery slope. If I could break in here for a moment to reality. They're always watching. They're always listening. And that's just a fact. That's not a conspiracy theory. Back to Frankie Valli at the legendary Toads. One of the good time bands we hosted many times was George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers. I had a chance to work one of their many, many shows here in that area. Crowds loved it whenever he did I'm bad to the bone. Din-in-in-in-in. Din-in-in-in-in. The head nurse spoke up, said leave this one alone. She could tell right away that I was bad to the bone. Din-in-in-in-in. Move it on over. And of course, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer. These are getting heavy. Episode and show after show, they're getting heavy, the chains. This song was originally done by Johnny Lee Hooker, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer. For one of his tours, Thorogood decided he was going to do 50 shows in all 50 states. One night after another, and he was doing those long rides in a checker cab. It was an amazing feat. George Thorogood was certainly one of a kind. Our long-term bartender, Pat Healy, remembers seeing Thorogood as he rolled up in that cab to do his Toad show during the marathon tour. I said, George, you don't look very well. This tour is really kicking your ass. He said, come here. And he took me over to a mirror. And he said, you don't look so good either. What's your excuse? I'm driving around in a checker cab. Commander Cody was another character who did plenty of shows with us. His one song that made it big on the radio was the Hot Rod Lincoln. The stinking Lincoln, which is currently what I drive. The Hot Rod Lincoln. What's going on here? You see what's going on, right? Alexa, play Tropical Thunderstorm sounds. He was pissed that his stuff never got recognized. Talking about Commander Cody and the Hot Rod Lincoln. He was also mad at his record company for not promoting him. When Beach interviewed him backstage, the commander was in an ornery mood. I'm not mad, he said. I'm stoned. He went on to explain, my writing's getting better, my piano playing's getting better, my singing's getting better, my band's getting better, but I'm not making any money. Bear with me. 4 hours later, he walked on stage, introduced as the Duke of Disgusting. He took a swig from his beer and remarked, this is the #1 health food in the world. It goes very well with triple cheeseburgers. The crowd, 90% male, so it was like a big sausage fest, laughed and saluted him with their own beer bottles. Then Cody and the band played 2 triple cheese side of order fries. Say that again. 2 triple cheese, a side order of fries. These are starting to annoy me, guys and gals. You know that, right? Cody and his band, no longer the Lost Planet Airmen, kept the joint rocking with Riot in Cell Block number 9, Red Cadillac with Jukebox Drive, Too Much Fun, and of course Hot Rod Lincoln. Then they knocked out the drunken beer bottlers with an encore of Lost in the Ozone Again. Another of our regulars was Jeff Lorber, the keyboardist of the band Jeff Lorber Fusion, who latched onto that name because they played jazz fusion. One day while he was with us, we got hit with a snowstorm. Jeff spent the whole day working on a new song, an instrumental. He called it Toad's Place, a nice tribute. One of the guys in his band was a saxophonist named Kenny Gorlick, better known as Kenny G. He would go on to have a spectacularly successful career. The group that would become our unofficial house band was NRBQ, which stood for the New Rhythm and Blues Quartet. Their fans, however, called them the Q, and always looked forward to a rollicking fun time on a Friday or Saturday night when they came to Toads. When the Q came to town, we knew we'd have a party weekend and people would leave with smiles on their faces. The band delivered the irresistible mix of rock, pop, blues, and levity. When we had them, starting in the early 80s, the lineup was keyboardist Terry Adams, guitarist Big Al Anderson, bass player Joey Spampinato, and drummer Tom Androlino. They played for us maybe 100 times. We were bummed when Anderson left the band. Anderson, speaking over the phone with Randall Beach in November of 2020, said of Toads, "It's a great club. I have fond memories all around. We always loved playing there. It had a great sound. It's all wood." Alluding to one of the famous New Haven touchstones, Anderson added, "Another great thing was they always had Sally's Pizza." He then went on to say, "I thought we played there too much, but we always sold out." During NRBQ's heyday, when they were often at our club, Anderson told Connecticut's Finest magazine, "Some clubs treat you like cattle. At Toads, though, you can always count on being treated like a human being. Their hospitality is great. I think Toads is one of the best clubs, maybe even the best in the nation. And I've played them all." The guys in NRBQ were our friends, and we were always happy to host them. The audience was always happy too. NRBQ fed off the crowd. The show would build into a frenzy leading up to their big songs, including RC Cola and Moon Pie and Riding in My Car. They would play them one after another, and the crowd would go crazy, screaming as loud as they could. Terry and Al asked to have electric fans blowing in their faces because they would be sweating so much. Their contract always specified they wanted Mexican food, just like the Ramones wanted their Yoo-Hoo chocolate. Paul McCartney was a huge fan of NRBQ. He was going to jam with them at Toads the night before he did a show at the Yale Bowl in the summer of 1980. Yale Bowl had two huge shows in the summer of 1980, from Paul McCartney to the Eagles to the Little River Band to the Beach Boys. Steve Miller Band, it was really incredible. Both my brothers went to those shows where there were thousands. I mean, pardon me. I don't know what the numbers were, but I'm talking, I don't want to be too far off here, but research, go to DuckDuckGo, don't go Google it, those concerts in the summer of 1980 at the Yale Bowl. I don't know, 30, 40, 50,000 people, maybe more. I was too busy doing other things to attend those shows. It was 90, 100 degrees on those days. Another one of my several regrets in these industries, whether it be pro wrestling or the music industry. I would have loved to have gone to those shows. They were literally history here in the Constitution State, in the shadows of Titan Towers. So remember, Yale Bowl in the summer, Toad's Night, he did the show at the Yale Bowl in the summer of 1990. I believe that was the year. We're going to have a Beatle on our stage. We had a secret game plan. We were getting it all set up, but unfortunately, some people who lived around the Yale Bowl started complaining that the McCartney fans were going to come into their neighborhood and urinate on their lawns and bushes. True stories, on their lawns and bushes. So that's right. Those concerts were in the 1980s at the Yale Bowl. So research that, early 80s. And this is when, as I remember now here, my mind's like a lazy Susan, it'll come back around. This was when McCartney wanted to come to the Yale Bowl, which is a huge venue. If you've ever seen Yale football, the Giants and the Jets played there in the early 70s, maybe 73. They did a season there. Holds an incredible amount of people right across from the legendary Yale baseball field where Babe Ruth played, maybe Lou Gehrig, I'm pretty sure. The infamous game in 1980 between Frank Viola and Ron Darling was also pitched on that field across the street. So again, just a legendary area that we're talking about here. So again, they were worried about the fans there in 1990. I just want to get my facts correct. They got the politicians all stirred up, and it became a drawn-out controversy. Eventually, McCartney's people heard about it, and he said, if they don't want me to play, I'm not coming. So he pulled out of the Yale Bowl gig, so we lost him too, and that one really hurt. And true story, obviously. And that was 1990. So I just wanted to get my facts straight. and those legendary concerts from early 80s at the Yale Bowl that were really something. As I mentioned, the Beach Boys, the Eagles, so on and so forth. It really was something. Remember Clarence Clemens, who joined Bruce Springsteen for that wonderful surprise show in 1978? He came back without Bruce, but with the Red Bank Rockets in January, and the Red Bank Rockers in January and July of 1982. Clemens, who we all loved as the sax player with the E Street Band, was called the Big Man. He was looking for what he called extra fuel to give him more energy. Fuel was high-grade Coke, the pure stuff. But we don't supply that at Toads. I don't know if he found anybody who could fulfill his needs, but I do remember he put on a great show. Another artist we always enjoyed who did well for us was Arlo Guthrie. He's a great guy and told stories between his songs. He was the perfect club performer. He heard the video games going and he called out, "You'll be drafted if you get too many points on your score." Because in the back of Toads and back in the game room, they had billiards, a couple pool tables. They had ended up installing video games, about a second set of bathrooms in the back, besides the ones that were on the lower stage where the merch was and the dressing rooms. It really was an incredible place. You can still go there. It's still open here in 2024. Of course, he sang Alice's Restaurant Massacre, his epic account of getting arrested for littering and then singing. You can't get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Or you can, I should say. When he was called in to get drafted, they didn't take him. It was sad to hear him announce in October 2020 that he had suffered multiple strokes and could no longer perform in public. One of the nuttiest nights at Toads was when Rickie Lee Jones came in. This was in the summer of 1982. She was 37, still riding along on her one hit. Chucky's in love. No, no. Chucky's in love. Do, do. I said Chucky's in love. Woo. No. It's Rickie Lee Jones, man. And she certainly wrote on that one song, that's for sure. We booked her for 2 shows that night, not knowing what we were in for. Both shows sold out, which was good for us, but we were providing her with Bushmills Irish whiskey, her liquor of choice. With her low body weight, she was shot pretty quickly. As Beach reported in his review, during the first show, she swore at the audience and called them babies. She threatened to walk out if the crowd wasn't absolutely silent. That was just going to happen with hundreds. That just wasn't going to happen with hundreds of sweaty bodies pressed up against each other and up against the stage. The song she wanted silence for was a ballad she dedicated to her father. She was sitting at the piano shouting, "Listen. Listen for 2 fucking minutes. This is to my father and it's very dear for me." The crowd kept quiet for most of that song, but when she sat back down at the piano later in the set, she heard too much talking. "Listen, babies, listen. I'm going to say it one more time," she scolded. "I'm here working. I'm doing my best, and if you continue to talk, I'm leaving." "We're listening, Rickie," a fan called out. "Don't leave," somebody else shouted. "You're beautiful," yelled a third. She got through that first show delivering Chucky's in love, The Last Chance Texaco, and a finale of Danny's All-Star Joint. She had a superb 9-piece band backing her. By the time she got into her second show, she was well into her second bottle of Bushmills and was getting even more pissed off at the crowd. For some reason, Rickie thought we had pool tables in the club inside the main room where the show was happening. She ordered the crowd to stop playing pool or she was going to end the concert. She yelled at the baffled audience, "I'm going to count to 4, and if the pool doesn't stop, I'm out of here." She counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she screamed, "I'm out of here. Out of this place. I'm not going to stand for what's going on." One of her crew helped her get off the stage and downstairs. They put her in a limo and got her back to the hotel. Limo. I said limmer. I get it. One of the people shaking his head in the crowd was John Griffin, the WPLR program director and DJ known as the Wig Master. Because you gotta wig out. That's a tribute to you, Wiggy. You're Wig Master. He was a big fan of Jones, but he recalled thinking, whoa, she's crazy, damn. A few years later, she heard about what had happened and that we had buttons made that read. I played pool with Ricky Lee. She came back to Toads and put on an impeccable performance. She stayed sober as a judge. After the show, she went back into our game room, which at the time did have a pool table. She played a game while people took pictures. Ricky was a good sport about the whole thing, and to this day, we're all still huge fans of hers. Fans, don't go anywhere. This is part 2 of chapter 3. Stand by, let me get some calls and some messages here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel, as the chains are struggling for Chaos Corner. Come on back, we're going back to the legendary Toad's place. I'll say that to say this, because I tell it like it is. Don't you dare miss it.